Hello and welcome to my shop. My name is Marc LeBlanc. I live in Laval, Quebec, which is a suburb of Montreal. I'm an amateur woodworker and amateur woodturner. In fact, I've only been turning for a little over a year. Over the course of 2 videos, I want to show you how to make these very elegant yet simple to make tea light candle holders, which are in the shape of a snowman. I made these last year for Christmas 2016 and gave a few of them as gifts, and they were a great success. Like I said, they're easy to make and they're fun to give. So if you want to make a snowman, please stick around because Christmas 2017 is just around the corner. And if you want to make these for friends and family, we need to get started. So to begin, let me walk you through a detailed materials list and planning guide. I'm going to scan these 3 images, but I'll show you quickly what they look like or what they are. These are the plans that I built, and that's how I started. I just put, just a couple of little plans together where I've got, this is the short stubby snowman. So I've got the basic shapes and the basic sizes and all the dimensions basically laid out on my plan. With this particular plan, I made the short stubby one. This is the thin or thinner, taller piece, and finally this is the taller and bigger snowman. You'll see the shapes when you take a look at these plans. One thing I will point out is that the top of the hat needs to hold the candles, the teacups, or the tea light candles. So what you need to plan is that your hat needs to be wide enough at the top and certainly wide enough down the stem of the hat so that when you bore the hole using a Forstner bit, you're basically not cutting through the material. So that's a simple point to remember. So the next piece of material that you need in your materials list is obviously your blanks for your wood. I'm using golden birch, which is readily available and relatively inexpensive at a lumber or a woodworking shop that's pretty close hand. And there's 2 different models that I'm using. This is one, it is, I don't know if you can see this, let me just bring it closer. This is 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch blank. In French, golden birch is called merisier. So that's what I'm using. This is 24 inches in length. I can get at least 2 snowmen out of this, possibly 3. And you saw the price there, it is 18 bucks Canadian. So it's not cheap, but it's not the end of the world. I've also got this other blank, which is 2 3/4 inches square. Same type of wood, same type of material. That's slightly under $10. And that is also 24 inches. So with this type of blank, it's really simple to build a snowman. The other materials that you're going to need are going to be for decorating the snowman and putting the candle together. I will tell you that the toughest thing to find is this thing right here. That is the candle holder itself. I had an incredibly difficult time finding this. I ended up going to a arts and crafts shop where they would sell these things, and this is the original packaging, so they're sold 2 at a time and they are welded together on the back, and this is basically for painting. They will, they're expecting people just to put small dabs of paint in here and use this when they're doing artistic painting. They're very easy to unclip from the weld, and you end up with this guy right here, and that's the perfect size for one of those candles. So that's one thing you'll need. You'll also need something to make the nose, and I've seen people on YouTube put noses together or actually build their own, but these are actually small corks that I got at a dollar store. Okay, that's what they look like, and I just painted them orange. You're also going to need some buttons. I've got these little beads, these little black beads, various sizes, and this is for the eyes and eyes of the snowman. I've got these red glitter buttons that are self-adhesive that you just glue on to make the buttons of the snowman. And in terms of doing the arms, what I did is I went in our backyard and I took these branches. These aren't, we actually have a kiwi, a bunch of kiwis in the back. They don't give us fruit, but they do give us, it's almost like a vine. It gives us a lot of good shading in our backyard. And I just took a branch of this and I started cutting little pieces, and that's where I got the arms. So that's the basic snowman. Another thing that I found very useful, and this is the material itself, is a very felty type of material that I use and that I glue to the bottom of the snowman itself. You see there's a black backing and there's this purple front. That's what's actually visible, but I just glue this on the bottom of the snowman, or it's actually on the bottom of the base that you saw earlier, and that completes the kit. In terms of the finish, you'll see I use a spray lacquer. I love that product. Thank you, Steve Ramsey, because it is absolutely does a spectacular job on it. So that's the materials list. Let's get started. I start off by measuring and cutting the blank to length, making sure that I add at least 1 inch to the overall length. Next thing I do is I mark the centers on my blank, mount it on the lathe, and then it's time to start turning it into round. One thing I've done with my other models last year was I knocked off the corners on the blank using a table saw. And I would really recommend you do that, because I tell you, turning this into round took a little while longer than the first times around. So it's not a bad idea. Just take a few minutes, mark how much material you do want to cut off of your blank, and just do it on the table saw. It's going to accelerate things tremendously. But overall, this is a pretty basic and pretty simple thing. Now that the blank is into round, I just measure 1 inch off of the tailstock, put a mark on the blank at that level using a parting tool and a skew chisel. What I then do is I just cut my tenon. Once the tenon is cut, I'm going to stop the lathe, dismount the blank, and place it into the chuck, and it will be ready for the next steps. Using my plan, I refer back and mark all the points where I would be expected to make a cut. I just transfer that onto the blank using a simple rule. Once those marks are placed on the blank, what I will do is transfer them by hand to the entire blank, so that as the lathe is spinning, I can see clearly where I need to make my cuts. Then, using a caliper and a rule, I measure off every single cut and determine the depth of my cut itself. The next thing you're going to see me do is actually cut to the depth for the hat piece, the top of the hat, just by using my caliper and a parting tool. I will do this all over. One thing to note is that where 2 balls joint on the snowman, I don't go as deep. I leave myself a little bit of play so that I can round off the shape. Finally, you're going to get a shape like this. Note that the larger ball, I don't cut the middle shape. I want to have the ball as big as possible. All right, this is the fun part. This is we start actually shaping the snowman, and this is where I'm doing the hat. So I start off by giving the shape of the hat itself by using my depth marks, or my depth cuts, as a mark to let me know where to go. And once we're done with the hat, Next thing I'll do is I'll just roll the rim so that we've got a shape of the rim itself. That looks good. And then the last thing I'll do, round over the top of the hat. And the next thing, just resetting, I'm just going to even out the top of the hat so that it's clean. And once I use my Forstner bit, then it's going to be a really nice clean cut on the top of the hat itself. Alright, quick reset of the camera angle. This is where you're going to see me complete the shape of the snowman itself and see my amazing skills or lack thereof. Anyways, I could watch this all day, so what I'll do is I'll just stay quiet for a bit while we look at how this whole snowman is taking shape. And now that the snowman is built, time to put a little bit of decoration. So with my skew, what I'm going to do is just put in some slight depth cuts just to show where the hat is. And by using a piece of melamine, one of those samples that you get at the hardware store, I'm just going to burn those marks into the wood itself. The next step is to bore the hole for the tea light candle holder. To do this, I'm using a Jacob's chuck and a Forstner bit. This is by far the safest way to do this. You will need a Forstner bit. I did try it on the drill press and it was very dangerous. So please get yourself a Jacob's chuck. I actually recorded 11 minutes of me sanding this thing. I go through 4 grits while I'm sanding. So let's skip ahead, shall we? You guys know what sanding is all about. It's awful and boring. I have this really nice beeswax that I use on my projects. So just by using a cloth, just apply it. It gives it a very nice color and protects the wood a little bit as well, but it's mostly for the coloration that it gives. That's what I like using it. You'll see just what it does on the wood as we apply it. It's really, really nice. And the final step is actually to cut the base and let the snowman loose. So what I do here is just by using my parting tool, I point it towards the top. So I try to give it a bit of a concave or convex shape. I don't know which one. And that allows the snowman to hold really, really nicely on their feet.